So, Saints, I was watching the news a minute ago. I'm going to play it. I took my camera and recorded, but a few days ago, the Lord was talking to me about AI and how dangerous this technology and these demonic entities that will be inhabiting these technologies are going to be for us. Well, it hasn't even been 24 hours. Somehow or another, they had some type of rare and closed door event take place in Washington, D.C. to discuss regulating AI and potentially developing a new agency to deal with legislation and issues that should be able to arise or should be arising from the employment of AI. I think this is something that all of you need to be concerned about. When Father, sends you all, someone that has this type of gifting and is ignored, there's no one to blame but yourself. And at this point, I really don't know what to say to you all that don't listen and don't share. They talk about these algorithms, and the Bible says the blood is on your hands. If you know something and you see the history and track record of this particular servant of the Lord, the bond servant of the Lord, I would like to think that you would care for others, especially if there's been the level of accuracy and life-preserving prophecy. Not prophecy for you to get your financial blessing, which won't make any difference once AI steals it out of your bank account, potentially. That's what it could do. Or when the government shuts down and starts a new currency. All of these prophecies and vain things that you're chasing after, I'm just trying to save your life. It's not even been 24 hours. And the Lord is already confirming that this is now. I believe what the Lord had spoken was that we was going to have within 9 months, like if some type of law enforcement crimes division for AI crimes. This technology is going to be creating crimes. It is a consciousness. And I just pray, just like many of you that listen to a lot of trash, I don't want to hear, oh, there was no prophets that said anything about this. I spoke to you a lot about COVID, about the disasters, about a lot of things. And, because you're listening to false voices and you're not prepared. So I'm going to do a Joseph thing and to prepare you. There are some things coming that's bigger than your petty squabbles and debates and discrepancies, dear body of Christ. There's a greater enemy, and it's brewing. So you literally have the release of demons taking place right now, and they're being given form. So I don't even know how long this is going to be, something that they allow to stay up. Right now, no one's paying attention to it. But there's a reason why the big dogs are gathering in Washington, because there's things that they know that the old heads that are in Congress, there's a new thing coming, and none of you are prepared for it. But you go ahead. This is why Jesus took them whips out and was tearing people behinds up in the marketplace. There's something else coming.
The Senate on Wednesday took a major step towards regulating artificial intelligence, hearing from the experts. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer called in the biggest names in tech for a bipartisan forum on how lawmakers should approach the rapidly advancing technology. He called it an all-hands-on-deck moment for Congress. Our Jolene Kent asked Elon Musk why he thinks the issue is so critical.
The key point was really that it's important for us to have a referee, just as you have a referee in a sports game, or all sports games, and that the games are better for it. This meeting may go in history has been very important for the future of civilization. No. The sequence of events will not be jumping into the deep end and making rules, but it starts with insight.
And let's bring in CBS News senior business and tech correspondent Jolene Kent. So if it's not jumping into the deep end, as Elon said, what are the actual issues? What are the main kind of big issues that are at stake right now in terms of regulating artificial intelligence.
The big topics that were discussed between powerful CEOs, these billionaires, and the senators today were really focused around safety and the pace of development of AI, because so much of what's developed by AI scientists and researchers can then go out into the world and do things that maybe they weren't even aware AI could do. For example, pass the MCAT, or do all kinds of tasks that AI couldn't even do a year ago. And so it's about moving quickly and maximizing the upside while minimizing the possible downside of job elimination that so many senators from both sides are so concerned about. The other issue that came up that Senator Tester told me about was the fact that there's concern about China leading the way and being ahead of the game and being able to set the global standard. And the senators are hoping that they can establish a dialogue and then regulation that allows for lots of innovation going forward, but also the safeguards to protect people as they use AI without losing to China. So that's a very tall order. Senator Schumer told me today that he expects that there will be additional meetings of this kind, but we hope that there'll be open press. The doors were closed today. Doors were closed today. Doors were closed today. Doors were closed today, unfortunately.
Yes, well, they do that sometimes, but even though the doors were closed, was there discussion about legislation to use existing structures to try to regulate AI, or was there any talk of creating an FCC or other kind of federal agency that would manage these kinds of issues?
There was discussion, according to Elon Musk as well as Senator Schumer, of an additional new entity to regulate AI. But Senator Schumer was very quick to say, it's too soon to talk about that they're very much in the research and development phase when it comes to figuring out what bipartisan legislation may look like. Meanwhile, there are bills percolating in the system. Of course, the White House also has a position on the development of AI as well. And so there are a lot of ideas being worked out here in Washington. But the idea of an additional entity is certainly met with a lot of resistance, but some tech experts and sources that I've been talking to over the past few days are amenable to that. In fact, Senator Schumer said today that when all of the CEOs were asked should there be regulation of tech, he says all of them unanimously raised their hand.
And what is the thinking, given your reporting from the tech companies, what's their kind of mental view about cooperating with the federal government? Because some of them are, getting the business from the federal government, which is trying to regulate them and limit what they try to do. How do they think through this kind of quasi-partnership with the federal government on the question of AI?
Well, they all say that they would adhere to any regulation put forth by the government, and many of them, including OpenAI, Sam Altman, the guy who's responsible for ChatGPT, say that they want to be helpful in creating that regulation, and they're open to it and they encourage it. And if you look at Congress's track record over the last 5-10 years, there have been many hearings in which Sundar Pichai of Google or Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook, Meta now, have been dragged before Congress over social media problems, right? And there have been very little to no regulation. And so what we see from this is maybe a little bit more collaboration, and it seems like they're trying to establish a little bit more trust between the tech CEOs and the lawmakers, and to really educate these lawmakers as to what ought to happen to achieve what they say are mutually beneficial goals.
Well, good start. Jolene Kenton, Washington. Thanks so much.
Thanks, John.
You have to always be prepared now that there's something else inside of what is being presented to you. I had a dream recently. It was very alarming. It's a slight sidebar. I don't know if it's going to weave back into this message later, but I saw a cyborg type of robot type of thing. It was a female, and it was made to be a representation of a female, and it was in the bed. And this is adult content. I'm going to say something that is sexual in nature in the next few seconds. So if you want to click off, you probably should do it now. If not, you chose to. I'm not going to shock you, but I'm about to tell you what I saw. Excuse me. So what I saw was there was a man in the bed with some type of robot cyborg thing, and the man and this thing were looking at each other like they were in love or in extreme lust, whatever, a desire, probably this, you know. And the man put himself inside of this thing. And however they designed this machine or cyborg, the reproductive or the sexual organs was doing something to this man that his eyes were rolling. He was in some form of ecstasy that it was not something that you would say, because, you know, lovemaking is beautiful. You know, it's beautiful. This was far from it. This was disgusting, even though you couldn't see. It was clear that this man entered this thing, but from the outside, what you could see was this thing was doing something extremely unnatural to this man's penis and his sexual organs, where he could not control himself. And when I say that, again, this was not something that was the beauty of making love. This was not that. This was disgusting. This was repulsive. And this thing, even though it had the appearance of human features, even the skin even looked like, you could tell it wasn't human, but if you wasn't a stickler for perfection, it could pass. But the way that this thing's eyes was, it was not desire. The man was looking with desire, and it looked like it desired him, but there was something else in the gaze of this machine that was pure hatred. And it was frightening. And this man was addicted to this thing. Like, and it knew what it was doing. Another thing that I saw, and I heard it so clearly, and I heard within the next 9 months. I heard this within the next 9 months. Now, I don't know what this meant. Now, I'm still going to ask Father. I didn't ask Father. Forgive me. If it's now and we're going to find out about it in the next 9 months, or it's going to be a really big deal or discussion in the news and then within the next 9 months. And again, this was in the past week that I saw this. I heard and I saw it was an AI crimes division. Artificial intelligence, these machines, they are going to be committing crimes. And it's going to be a division of law enforcement that addresses them. I saw people being accused of things as awful and gruesome as murder. And it wasn't them. Everyone was saying, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. It wasn't me. That's not my, but these things knew what they were doing, and they were causing humans to turn on each other, just like we're doing now. The way that we are turning on each other now, the AI is learning that behavior, and it's training itself to do it. So when I'm saying these things to you, I'm saying because I see far, and many of you see whatever's being published on the YouTube or you know, and I've been saying for the longest time, you're following behind the wrong voices, and the time is going to come where you're going to be looking for those of us that are authentic and have a heart for the Lord and His people, that have not run away, though they want to in their flesh, but there's something in them that can't not love on you all. I'm being shown these things for a reason.